You and your friend are going to the same city on the same flight, same airline, same day, same seat type. You paid $380. They paid $140. You are sitting next to each other. Neither of you did anything wrong. Neither of you got scammed. This is just how airlines sell tickets. And once you understand the system, you will never look at a flight price the same way. When an airline fills a plane, their goal is not to sell every seat at the same price. Their goal is to make as much total money as possible from that one flight. Think about it from their side. Some people book 3 months in advance and are happy to take a cheap deal. Other people need a specific flight tomorrow and will pay whatever it costs. Some people want to be able to cancel for free. Others do not care. If the airline charges everyone the same price, they leave a lot of money on the table. The person who would have paid $600 only paid $200, and the person who just needed any seat at the last minute got the same deal as someone who planned ahead. So, airlines figured out a smarter system. They split every single flight into buckets. Each bucket has a different price, and they open and close those buckets based on who is buying, how fast seats are selling, and how close the departure date is. A single economy cabin on one flight can have 8 to 12 different price buckets running at the same time. Same plane, same seats. 8 to 12 different prices depending on which bucket actually landed when you Imagine a flight with 150 seats. The airline creates something like this. The first 30 seats sell for $140. The next 30 sell for $190. The next 25 sell for $260, and so on, all the way up to the full price, which might be $600 or more. When the $140 bucket sells out, it closes. The next cheapest price becomes $190. When that sells out, $260. The price goes up not because the flight got better, the seats are identical, but because the cheaper buckets ran out. This is why checking flights on a Monday and then again on a Wednesday can show you two completely different prices. The cheap bucket filled up in the 2 days you waited. Nothing else changed. It also works the other way. If a flight is not selling well, the airline can open a cheaper bucket to fill the empty seats. This is why sometimes you see a $400 ticket suddenly drop to $250 a week before the flight. The airline would rather fill the seat at a discount than fly with it empty. An empty seat on a departed flight makes exactly because the bucket system is just the beginning. Airlines also adjust prices based on what you are doing, not just when you are booking, what you are doing right now. If you search for the same flight 5 times in 2 hours, the airline system notices. High search frequency on a route is a demand signal. The algorithm interprets it as, people really want this flight. Let's tighten the cheap buckets. This is the real origin of the incognito mode myth. The idea that searching in private browsing prevents airlines from tracking your searches and raising prices on you. Clearing cookies removes some tracking from your device. But the airline's pricing system is tracking demand signals across thousands of users simultaneously, not just yours. Your personal search history is one tiny data point in a much larger system. Searching incognito does not meaningfully change the price you see. What does influence prices is the collective behavior of everyone searching that route at the same time. If thousands of people are suddenly looking at flights to a specific city, say, because a big event was just announced, the algorithm detects the spike and adjusts. You see it as prices mysteriously has a name. It is called revenue management. And American Airlines pioneered it back in 1983. The story is genuinely impressive, depending on how generous you are feeling. In the early 1980s, budget airlines started offering dirt cheap fares to attract customers. American Airlines could not match those prices across their whole network without destroying their profit margins. So instead of dropping all their prices, they came up with something smarter. They would offer a limited number of cheap seats on every flight to compete with the budget airlines. But they would hold back a block of seats at full price for business travelers who needed flexibility and would pay for it, the same flight. 2 completely different products at 2 completely different prices for 2 completely different types of passenger. American Airlines claimed their revenue management system generated an extra $500 million per year. The entire airline industry copied it within a decade. Today, every major airline in the world runs some version of this system, with software that updates prices continuously, in some cases every few minutes. Why does the price go up the closer you get to the departure date? This is the part most people get wrong. The common assumption is that airlines punish last-minute bookers by charging them more. That is not quite right. What is actually happening is that the cheap buckets filled up earlier, so only the expensive ones remain. But there is more to it than that. Airlines know that last-minute travelers are usually one of 2 types. Business travelers who genuinely need a specific flight and will pay whatever it costs. Or people in some kind of personal emergency who also need that specific flight and will pay whatever it costs. Neither of those groups is price sensitive, so the airline has no incentive to keep cheap buckets open for them. The cheap buckets are for the flexible traveler who booked 3 months ago and would have gone somewhere else if the price had been higher. This is not a coincidence. It is the whole design. The system was built to charge each type of traveler the maximum they are individually willing to pay. Different person, different circumstances, different most price. People never think about. When you search for a flight, you are not seeing all the available prices. You are seeing the prices available through that specific sales channel. Airlines sell tickets through their own website, through third-party booking sites, and through a wholesale system where travel agents buy blocks of seats at rates the general public never sees. Two people could search for the same flight at the same time and see different prices. Not because the airline changed the price between their searches, but because they are looking through different channels with different bucket arrangements. And on top of all of this, prices vary by where you are searching from. An airline might show higher prices to users in wealthy countries because the historical data shows those users are willing to pay more. This is not illegal. It is just the system doing what it was designed to do. Find the maximum time to buy a flight. The honest answer is, sort of. Research consistently shows that for most routes, booking between 1 and 3 months before the departure date hits a sweet spot. The cheap buckets are still open, but the flight is close enough that the airline wants to fill seats. Booking too early, 6 or more months out, sometimes means the cheapest buckets have not even opened yet. Booking too late means they have closed. Tuesday and Wednesday searches are often cheaper than weekend searches, not because of any airline policy, but because fewer people are searching midweek, so demand signals are lower, and cheap buckets stay open longer. But here's the most important thing to know. None of these tips work consistently every time, on every route. The system is too complex and updates too fast for any simple rule to always apply. The only thing you can control is being flexible. Flexible on dates, flexible on airports, flexible on airlines. Flexibility is what gives you access to the cheapest friends search for the same flight and see different prices. You are not being scammed. You are just two different data points in a system that has been optimizing for this exact outcome since 1983. The airline is not your enemy. They are just very, very good at figuring out the most you are willing to pay. And so far, we keep paying it. Is airline dynamic pricing a fair system? Or is charging different people different prices for the exact same seat just a polite form of daylight robbery? Drop your answer below.